All right, how is everybody? It's so good to see all the faces. Hello, it's so good to see everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. Wonderful to see your beautiful faces. Oh my goodness, I see Pia and Colin are here. Everybody wave hi to Pia and Colin. So good to see you guys.
Hey,
Previous Wisdom Soup speakers. We have probably several Wisdom Soup speakers in our crowd here, but Pia and Colin are some of our faves too. You all are favorites. They're all our favorites. So how's everybody feeling, you guys? So everybody noticing the change of energy as we're heading into. You guys know I'm into astrology, but Pia's really into astrology, and Colin is too. So, but there's some major stuff coming up on the horizon, as you know. And we've been doing it. Any of you who did not realize, we're doing a 40-day glow up right now on YouTube. So if you're not aware of it, we're kind of helping everybody get into a super high vibe as we head into some really cool openings as we're moving through the shift of consciousness. So if you don't know about that, check it out. We're only about halfway through. So, those of you who have never been to Wisdom Soup before, I just want to share with you what Wisdom Soup is. It came about because I was searching for a community. It came out at the beginning, really towards the start of my journey, when I was really looking for other people who I could connect with because I had no one to talk to about all the stuff that was going on and the things in my head. And I did send an email out to friends, and like literally none of them answered. Like I was like, hey, let's meet once a month. And they didn't even respond, which was kind of heartbreaking. So I rented a theater in downtown Bellevue, and I put a notice on Meetup, and I had no idea if anybody would come. And then like 25 people showed up, and it was thrilling. And I was like the first, I'd set it up as a speaker thing, and I was the first sacrificial lamb. And it was super fun. So I did it every single month, and it became such an important, and I had different speakers, and it was really fun to support other spiritual teachers and other and healers and people who were willing to share what they were learning. And and to come out into in a way of creating this opportunity for learning for everyone. And then it grew over time in different ways, and eventually, my life shifted, and I ended up going more in the direction of my own channeling, as you guys are aware. But that community stayed so important to me that even when I moved to California, I still flew back every single month and hosted Wisdom Soup. And then, of course, here we have, and COVID came. And then after that, it was like we went online. And now we are still keeping it this way because the community grew. It started to include people from all over. But I think the coolest thing about this is always the idea that as souls, we have something to learn from each other, always. That every single person you sit next to has something to offer. And to go in, it's like they always say that the wiser you get, the less you talk. Although I talk a lot, so I don't think that says very good things about me. I feel like I'm always talking, but but the point is that is a great idea to listen, to be able to be open to the wisdom that others, all of us have to share. And so I love in these events that we get to bring in people that maybe you've known or maybe you haven't known yet, and to listen to what they have to share, to the wisdom that they're bringing. And I find we all find something out of it, something that is a gift to us. So, and that is the case with our speaker for this week. His name is, and he is an author who has had some really fascinating spiritual experiences and has taken the plunge of sharing those experiences in a very public way. So I know you're going to relate to him. So I would love to introduce you. Let me go ahead and put a spot. I was like staying in the gallery mode because I can see everybody. But let me go ahead and bring back Brad onto the spotlight so you can find him. Here he is. Hold on. There it is. All right, here we are. Welcome to Wisdom
hey,
Soup, Brad.
hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So you have written a book, and if you could share the title of the book with us.
Yeah, yeah, I have it right here. I am Brad Burkholder. The book is Where the Spirit Led, and it's all about, um, well, I'll start at the beginning. Uh, I, uh, I was in sort of a bad way back in the mid 90s, and I uh, worked with a lady who had visited a trance channel and talking with the spirit that the channel channeled had done her a lot of good. So I booked an appointment and I met Ramoth, the spirit. I also met the channel, Yvonne, who later became my wife.
Oh my gosh, I
And
didn't know
yeah,
that
and
part.
we had some amazing adventures for quite a while. About 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, we actually dissolved the marriage, which I wasn't very happy about at first. However, I've become you know accustomed to my new life. But I realized that this change came about because Yvonne had other things that she had to do, and I had other things I had to do. The direction we were headed, they weren't going to get done. And so we did need to be apart. And one of the major things that has come out of the separation is the book Where the Spirit Led, which I've known I was going to write since the mid '90s when the Spirit Ramoth told me that I would eventually write the book.
So fascinating. So what I love about your story, and I want to go even further back because you yourself have had spiritual abilities that you saw spirits from a very young age. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yes, that has happened. Although I don't consider myself very psychic, having lived several decades with a person who was immensely psychic. I realize the limitations of my abilities, but I have channeled things. I think some of the better things that I've written in life have been channeled. Even Where the Spirit Led was a very easy write for me. It
Mhm.
occurred in a matter of maybe 6 weeks. I had it written,
Isn't that
and
amazing?
and then a month after that, I had a publisher.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness. So it was
and
definitely led and guided.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, Ramoth, the spirit, told me I'd sent the book out to about half a dozen American publishers, and he said they're not going to take the book, but there is a publisher in the UK. And so I went online. I found a publishing house called Collective Inc. And I think you mentioned Gavin Davies earlier. I think he's watching. He was working there at the time, and he chose the book for publication. So I owe him a great debt of gratitude.
That's so awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And I love that you were guided to like just even the truth of that, that when we are on a path, which is something that we're meant to do, how all the pieces just flow and fall into place. What a
Hmm.
beautiful example of that. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you didn't let it get in the way, that you had this wife who was like a giant radio antenna, and you were like, that's great, and I'm gonna do my thing.
Well, she's always been helpful, and we're still good friends. In fact, we texted just this morning, uh, and I still get readings. I still consult with Ramoth and always will, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um,
So can I ask, who is Ramuth to your understanding? Can you describe Ramuth to us?
mhm. Ramoth is a guide, and I did not understand what the word meant until fairly recently. I thought that he just meant that he was someone on the other side who uh, helped out Yvonne's clients, and he is that, but he's more than that. A guide is a spirit who is no longer reincarnating, or at least is not reincarnating at the present time, but actually works as sort of a mentor or overseer for a large group of souls. I have no idea how many souls are a part of Ramoth's group,
Okay,
but I assume it's quite a few.
got it.
I do know that he does not channel through anyone other than Yvonne, although I have received messages from him at times, and I'm very grateful for that. Uh,
So,
but
and you had in so in this process of you booking a session with her and then him coming through, the guide coming through and speaking to you, then I understand that there was a group of you that
Mhm.
were supposed to work together in this. Can you describe that what how that came about?
Yes, there was a larger group and a smaller group. There was a sort of a large informal group of maybe usually about 30 people who attended meetings that Yvonne had every 2 weeks, where we would all sit in a circle and she would channel. Ramoth would come through, he would give a message, and then he would answer questions for us individually. She also gave private readings, and most of the people in that group, at least occasionally, had private readings with her. Um, I booked one every 2 weeks. Once I started, I was absolutely hooked. This was the thing I'd been looking for my entire life. I was
Wow.
in my mid 40s at the time, and I think the greatest day of my life was the day I walked into that little room and met Yvonne, and then uh, had my first session with Ramoth.
Wow.
But eventually, Ramoth um, chose 3 people, 4 people, I'm sorry, uh, plus Yvonne, to be a group. He referred to it as a star group. And he told us that there were a dozen other star groups scattered around the world,
Mhm.
that each of them was being led by a different spirit. Ramoth was not in charge of all of them, just our group, and that we had certain tasks that we were to perform. And so for about 2 years, the star group was very active. Uh, we did quite a few things. We did some spiritual battling against
Hmm.
demons, and also against some people who were into demon worship.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
and I think we probably did some good, through
Wow.
that. Another thing that we did was he had us do some work to combat an alien influence that was going on and was pretty active during the 90s. And he sent us on what turned out to be a giant vision quest to England, southern England. And so we spent some time there, the 5 of us, and it was fantastic. Just one deja vu experience after another. All of us had past life memories. All of us had psychic things occur, and it was quite interesting. And,
Oh,
and it's all covered in it's covered in the book Where the Spirit Led.
can you tell us just maybe one or two of the stories about it, about what you experienced there?
Well, maybe I should give a little more background before I get into that. I first visited Yvonne because I was in a very painful relationship with a woman, and I was at my wit's end. I was obsessed with this woman. I don't think it was a healthy relationship very much. But on in my second session, uh, Ramoth I wonder if he put the questions in my mind, but I asked a series of questions and came to understand that uh, this woman and I had been in a very painful relationship about a century earlier
Oh,
in
wow.
Europe. Uh, and I had been obsessed with her for over 50 years at the time of my death. Um, I found out who she was. By finding out who she was, I found out who I was.
Wow.
And I was actually someone that I had uh, a great familiarity with and even some admiration for. Now, at the time, I was an English professor at a community college. I had 2 master's degrees in creative writing. I have been a poet since I was a kid,
Hmm.
really. Not a famous poet, not a highly accomplished poet if you judge accomplishment in terms of publication. But I'm a trained poet. I have some insight into poetry, and uh, I knew which poets I liked and which I didn't like. I knew which ones felt like they were influences to me and which ones were not. And this was my favorite poet.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
and I also discovered a couple weeks later because I saw a parallel between the poet I knew I had been and this woman who obsessed him, and an earlier poet and an earlier woman. And I found out that this woman and I had been together in all three of those lives. They'd all been painful for the male involved. And so it turned out that I was not only my favorite poet, I was also my second favorite poet from the past. And 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 I was I wondered how that could be. And Ramoth, in his typical way, said, "How could it not be?"
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know. I was pretty overwhelmed by it, but I never felt better because I had been those people in the past. I felt more challenged because I had been those people,
Oh,
and
interesting.
I think it has spurred me to be the best writer I could be, and
Yeah,
also the best human being I could be. But
yeah,
certainly, knowing something about your past lives is such a benefit to you in your present life because you understand yourself.
mhm,
You are the result of your past lives. And so
yeah.
as time went on, I found out that I know of probably a couple dozen lives I've had in the past. And in most cases, I've written things. In other cases, I was a warrior. Um, thank goodness I avoided that in this life. And
Yeah.
Ramoth tells me I won't have to be a warrior again. I
Ah,
don't
that's
want to be a warrior. Um, and so I've known some very famous people in past lives, and it turns out that those people who were in the group with me were people that I've reincarnated with since at since Old Testament times, since
yeah.
the times of the ancient Greeks. Um, we
That's
were
so
all in the
amazing.
Trojan War, for instance, and we were at Camelot together. We all crossed paths at the time of Christ, and we all followed Moses out of Egypt.
So, okay, so super interesting. And by the way, I completely agree with what your experience of your past self being your favorite author. And so, like, I will just briefly say I had a past life, and I didn't know it. But when I found out about it and found out who I was a small historical figure that was like big in one
Mhm.
country, but not well known in the world. And I only knew that because I had a channeling and I saw like all these details and everything 100% lines up with this person. When I was a kid, in my world history class, freshman year of high school, I still remember I was cramming for a test and it was open to the page with all of the Spanish conquistadors and all this kind of stuff. And each one had a paragraph this big, just like this. There was probably 16 on the page. And I was trying to memorize all of them. And there was one of them that jumped out to me. And for whatever reason, I'm like, I like that guy, like whatever. Like when I remember even telling the person sitting next to me, I like this guy. And that turns out that was the guy. That was the guy I was. And I had this
Wow.
immediate internal reaction of like, who knows why I like that guy. But yeah, so
Mhm.
anyways, I think I completely relate. And I think, you hear about like in Buddhism when they find like the Dalai Lama, they'll set out objects that like
Mhm.
3 out of
Mhm.
10
Mhm.
belong to the previous incarnation. And the child will immediately reach for the three that belong to them in
Mhm.
a past life. So just to violently agree with you, yeah, it's super cool
I
that you had that experience.
I certainly relate to your experience because when I was in high school, in my English classes, poet after poet seemed familiar to me
Wow.
in ways that I wondered about. I was never William Shakespeare. I won't make that claim, but I remember in the second grade I knew who William Shakespeare was, and I
Yeah.
don't know how I knew that. But of
Wow.
course, I've known it in many. I've studied Shakespeare life after life, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it admired him life after life. Uh,
Yeah.
but
So,
yeah, when we got to we actually got to a couple poets I had been, and
yeah, that is so
their
cool.
names
Do
seemed
you
so
feel free?
familiar to.
Do you feel free to share the names of the poets that you were or does that make you uncomfortable?
Well,
It's okay if you don't want to.
it makes me a little uncomfortable, but I'll do it.
Okay.
It's in Where the Spirit Led anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, the woman who led me to Yvonne was an Irish actress and uh, basically a little bit of a rabble rouser. Her name was Maud Gonne, and I was the poet William Butler Yeats.
Oh, how amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Now, interestingly, before Maud Gonne was Maud Gonne, and when I knew her, her last name actually rhymed with Gone. But
Oh,
before she was Maud Gonne, she was a girl named Fanny Braun. And Fanny Braun was the girlfriend of John Keats.
oh my
Now,
God.
Keats and Yeats don't sound alike, but they're spelled alike.
Oh my
Yeats, Yates, Keats,
Isn't
Keats.
that amazing?
Of course, Burkholder doesn't rhyme with Keats or Yeats at all. Although when she was little, my daughter mistook a picture of William Butler Yeats for a picture of me. Now, I don't
Oh
think we look
my
alike
God.
at all, but I remember her seeing this picture on the wall, and she said, "You look so sad in that picture." And I said, "That's not me."
It's not me. Isn't that amazing? But it
It
is
is
you.
amazing.
Yeah,
It is
it is
amazing.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm so curious about, so this is, it's really cool that you are able to identify that like a soul group that you've been traveling with. Do you know, and I mean, I'm sure it took time for you to trace the steps that where you guys were all connected. Were you in that as you journeyed from sort of one life experience to the next life experience? How tight of a group were you? Was it the kind of thing where it was like in one life you were really connected, in the next life it was like we passed each other on the highway? Like, how connected were the five of you in each of those experiences?
The the other two men in the group and I were brothers at
Mm.
the time of King Arthur.
Oh my gosh.
Um, we were brothers in arms in the Trojan War and in the Civil War, the American Civil War. We were. I was a very minor officer, but the two men who traveled with me to England, John and Ken, were generals in the Civil War.
Wow.
And apparently we had all met at some point, even though I was a first lieutenant. They were generals of various degrees, but I knew them,
Hmm.
um, and the, quite a few people, you know, who are famous now or who were famous in history, have crossed paths with this group that I'm a part of, this small group of souls.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Mhm.
So, so I'd love you. You mentioned the trip back to, is there, was there more to the pre-story, or would you like to talk about the
Oh,
Camelot?
the trip to England?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, One of the men in the group, Ken, organized the trip for us. Now, Ramoth was really behind it. Um, Ken organized it. He got us a bed and breakfast. We thought it was going to be in Salisbury. The reason we wanted to go to Salisbury was that Yvonne's mother grew up in Salisbury. Her father was the mayor of Salisbury during World War II.
Oh, wow.
And uh, her mother married a GI, came to came to America. They had a large family. Yvonne was the uh, second youngest, and eventually Yvonne and I got together, and uh, So when because of Yvonne's connection to Salisbury, we decided we would go there and stay there and then do day trips out of Salisbury. So Ken organized that. He, through a travel agent, he got us a bed and breakfast in a place called Great Wishford, which we assumed was like a borough of Salisbury. When we got there, we discovered that wasn't true at all. Great Wishford was a little village several hours away, or at least 1 hour away, at least from Salisbury. So we went there. We we stayed at a bed and breakfast, part of which dated back to the 13th century.
Oh, wow.
We discovered while we were there that John, another member of the group, had had a life that actually ended in that very house.
Oh my gosh.
Every day we went to a little store up the street, got the snacks and things that we would need, and bought film and so on. And we became pretty friendly with the couple who owned the store. When we got back to the United States, we learned from Yvonne's mother that that store had been run by Yvonne's grandfather. After her grandmother died and he retired in Salisbury, he moved to Great Wishford and ran that store.
Oh my
We came
gosh.
from half a world away and ended up in that store every
Isn't
day that
that
we were.
crazy?
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
amazing.
amazing. I have to ask, how did the guy discover that he died in that house? How did that come to him?
Through Ramoth.
Oh,
We,
okay.
we,
Cool.
we actually there was a library in the house that was sort of, it was away from the lady who ran the house, and daily we would go and have little meetings with Ramoth,
Mm.
and so yeah, so we went to from there. We did go to Salisbury. We went to a town called Castle Coombe. It's a picturesque little village. We went to Bath, we went to Stonehenge, and we went to Old Sarum. Old Sarum is it's on the outskirts of Salisbury. It was a castle built by William the Conqueror.
Mm.
Turns out that one member of our group had been William the Conqueror.
Oh my gosh.
And it also turns out that that he built his castle on the site of a castle that we all were familiar with. And I know everybody has a theory about where Camelot was.
Mhm.
Camelot was where Old Sarum is today, near Salisbury.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah,
so tell us how did you find that out?
through Ramoth.
Okay.
Uh, Now, I have friends who say, "Well, how do you know Ramoth is telling the truth?" I know he's telling the truth because I've been his student since 1997, and he has never steered me wrong. And he steered me right in so many ways that are just amazing.
Wow.
And the other four members of that group, the star group, would all tell you the same thing in their experience.
Yeah. Your friend who turned out that he realized he was William the Conqueror, did he have any kind of memories come back or anything like you did? Or
I,
preferences, or did he have
I,
any
I,
awareness?
I know that he got very disturbed when we visited a structure called, I think it's called St. Michael's Tower. And
Mm,
it's built on top of what's called Glastonbury Tor, which is
okay.
a high conical hill right on the edge of Glastonbury, which is a very important spiritual center and has been for a long time. Um, he got upset when we were there, and he said that the reason he was so upset was that William the Conqueror himself had built that tower, and he did not compensate his laborers sufficiently.
Mm.
And it turns out William the Conqueror, he practically taxed Britain to death.
Oh,
He
wow.
levied such heavy taxes on Britain, and this is something that John felt bad about now in
Wow.
this life. Um,
Very interesting.
yeah, yeah. But I think the real reason that we were sent to England maybe was to visit Glastonbury. There is an artesian well there that people go to be healed. It's supposed to be, special water. And Mary Magdalene and Joseph of Arimathea were said to have gone there. In fact, that's where Mary Magdalene died.
Oh,
And I I realized, I just got it while we were there, that, oh, she's buried under this thorn tree. Now there's a thorn tree there that was said to have sprung from the walking stick of Joseph of Arimathea. I have since verified that there are other people who believe this, and it's written that Mary Magdalene died. She was buried close to the well. Probably not very healthy, but she was buried very close to the well. Joseph placed his walking stick, which he had brought with him, uh, in the ground, and the stick grew roots and leaves and turned into a thorn tree.
oh my gosh.
It lived for about 1,000 years. It
Wow.
started dying. When that happened, they took cuttings from the dying tree. When the tree died, they actually planted a cutting where that tree had been, and there is still the thorn tree standing there today.
That is so cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, that is beautiful.
So then we learned that that when Mary died, she had the Holy Grail with her. She gave it to some priests because she herself had established the first sort of a center of learning, which became like a monastery later on.
Okay.
And they kept it until there was a Druid uprising and they felt that it was in danger. They gave it to King Arthur. And it was eventually given to some of us to hide right before Camelot fell.
Mm, wow. And
So
you
I
can't
think
remember that,
I
huh?
think
You don't know where you stashed it?
I'm not going to say where it is. I have some idea. I have a pretty good idea where it is, but
Okay.
it's not mine to tell the world where it is.
Yes.
It will be um, it will be returned to us when the time is right,
Mm, wow. And what
and
was your,
that time is coming. It's not far off.
that's very exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you, what was your role, the five of you in Camelot?
Well, it's in Where the Spirit Led. John and I were both knights. Uh, Ken was a priest. We were all the nephews of King Arthur.
Oh, wow.
Uh, we all had the three of us we were the sons of Sir Percival of the Round Table.
Okay.
Um, and two of us became knights. Yvonne was the daughter of Arthur's sister and Merlin. Um, and The other lady in the group, uh, her name is Leslie. Leslie at that time was the daughter of Mordred, who was he was Arthur's son, uh, apparently not legitimate. and Arthur planned for uh, Sir Bors to succeed him on the throne, which is part of what led to the downfall of Camelot.
Oh, wow. Very interesting. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So,
But
yeah,
yeah,
continue.
go ahead.
No, no, you were going to say something?
I was going to say that the world would be very different today if we hadn't all been killed the day we were. If Arthur had been allowed to do what he planned to do, the church as we know it would be very, very different. The
Wow.
world would be better. Uh, but that was a case in which evil won.
Hmm.
Arthur, see, his brand of Christianity had come to him, not directly because she lived a couple centuries before him, but or more than that, really. But his brand of Christianity came directly from Mary Magdalene,
Hmm.
and it included reincarnation and the concept of karma. But by the time Arthur was alive, the church had been organized. Church leaders had changed some of the story. They had deleted karma and reincarnation because they felt that people needed to believe in everlasting damnation, or else they wouldn't be good moral people.
Right.
Arthur was incensed by that because he felt that God himself had been edited.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so his plan was to take, was to, uh, he was going to replace the Pope.
Mm.
He was going to invade Europe proper, replace the Pope, set his nephew up as the new Pope. He was going to make Sir Gawain the King of Rome, and to protect the new Pope and the new Church. He was going to change the doctrine so that it fell in line with the things that Mary Magdalene had taught in Glastonbury.
Mm. Wow.
But uh, the the there was a big battle, basically over the Holy Grail, and those who were following. I know people are going to hate this, but those who were following Merlin rather
Okay.
than Arthur,
Okay.
and who leaned toward Druidism, which is not evil, but the way but Merlin had become very corrupted. He was sacrificing human beings,
Mm.
and and I do know that uh, uh, we interrupted a sacrifice at Stonehenge
Oh,
at
wow.
night once, saved the girl uh, uh, who was about to be sacrificed. Some people died in the fight. Merlin ran off,
Mm.
and he lived to fight another day. Um, but yeah, but see, if that hadn't happened, if Arthur hadn't been killed, uh, then he would have changed the world.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Mhm.
So this sounds like an incredible experience, this trip that you had, these big aware, like what was your coming away from this experience for you as a person? What would you say? How did it deepen your spirituality? What was your takeaway from this experience?
What I came away from it knowing was that we were at a point in history when the world could have changed,
Hmm.
and it didn't. And uh, that's been heavy knowledge for me to carry around. I think that most of us did the best we could, and I don't know of any life in which I don't believe that I did the best I could.
Hmm.
Um, and I hope I'm doing the best I can right now. But uh, it's it's sobering. Everything that I've learned has been sobering, but it has been very enlightening also, because I think all I ever wanted to know was, is God really out there? And I found out that he is. And that makes all the difference. You know, I had an uncle who was not an educated man, but a very, very wise man. He was a great uncle, actually. And he was old and dying. And he said something to me. He said, you know, it's good to have faith, but it's always better to have knowledge,
Hmm.
because there's always going to be a little bit of doubt in faith. And people say, oh, no, 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 I don't have any doubt. But I think they're whistling in the dark. I do know that knowledge is better than faith. It's better to know something than to hope that it's true. And I absolutely know it. And I feel like one of the most blessed people on the face of the earth because of that.
And you mean knowing that God is real as opposed
I
to having
know I
faith that
know
God is
God
real.
is real. I know, and I know that Jesus Christ was real too.
Yeah.
You know, as um, unreal as the stories about him might seem, they
Yeah.
seem unreal because he knew something that we don't know yet.
Hmm.
But as he said, you know, where he is, we will be someday. And what he knew, we would know. What he could do, we will be able to do someday.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And
Yeah.
so I think it's far more important to follow him than it is to worship him.
Yes. That I,
He never said you should worship me.
yeah.
He said follow me.
Yeah. Do what I do. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that there's ways that that your and I'm sorry, the name of your guide, I know it starts with the letter R.
Ramoth.
Ramoth, thank
Ramoth.
you.
Uh-huh.
That has shown up in your life in just incredible ways. Would you share some of those stories with us? I'd be curious to know.
Well, according to the laws of physics, I should be dead now. I should have died at age 24, uh, when my motorcycle was about to slam into the side of a car that ran a stop sign. All right, now I knew that I couldn't stop that motorcycle. I mean, I hit the brakes, but I couldn't stop that bike. That car was so close to me. And so I could just see myself flying over the top of the car and either dying or probably being a paraplegic for life or something like that. But the motorcycle made a 90-degree turn that it could not possibly have made. It defied physics.
Wow.
And I passed within a foot of that car. And I'll tell you,
Um,
I got off the bike, I sat on the curb, I thanked God. And I know now why I was saved.
wow.
Now, somebody, Ramoth, I assume, uh,
Intervened.
interceded,
Yeah.
on my behalf,
Hmm.
because I had a job to do later. And that job was I needed to walk into that little room up above a bookstore and meet Yvonne so that I could learn from Ramoth. And I suppose that my whole purpose in life has been to write where the Spirit led. And and Ramoth says I have another book in me too. I don't know what it is yet, but he
Oh,
says I will
exciting.
live long enough to write it, and so I'm looking forward to that.
That's exciting. Something new.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be some poetry.
Oh no, 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 no. Listen. I've written hundreds of poems.
Yeah.
I've written two plays. I've written several short stories and a novel. None of them published in a big time way.
Okay.
I've published poems in little magazines, but nobody reads those little poetry magazines. Uh, that only the people who have poems published in them actually read those magazines. And um, I did write a play. It's called Shakespeare's latest play, and it was staged in 1999.
Oh,
Um,
that's fun.
and yeah, yeah. But it's never been published.
Okay.
I've I've never had to join the guild, that playwrights have to belong to or anything like that. but
Okay.
uh, but that play was channeled. I know it was channeled, and
That is
uh,
awesome.
and I believe my earlier play was probably channeled too, because I wrote them so quickly and so effortlessly.
That's amazing.
But
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't doubt it. That's amazing.
yeah. You know, I hope that someday I'll find a publisher for my novel. I hope that someday I'll find a publisher for my poems.
Yeah.
But if I don't, it won't be the first time I died and left a body of work behind. And in fact, you know, uh, a, a couple things attributed to Anonymous actually were things that I either wrote or had a hand in writing
Oh,
in
interesting.
the past. Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah,
interesting?
yeah,
So
yeah.
with all of your experiences so far, and so you started on this journey more on, you know, on an earlier side. Like you said, 1997 was really, but
Mm.
even you, I mean, you mentioned seeing spirits when you were little. So
Yeah, yeah.
you've been of a spiritual nature your whole life, and then deeply engaged for the majority of your life. So
That is true. I thought even when I was a kid growing up, I thought there was something spiritually different about me, but I didn't know what
mhm,
it was. I
yeah,
didn't think I was better than other people or anything like that. I just thought I was more spiritually attuned,
interesting.
even though I wasn't certain what that meant at the time. But
And
yeah, I actually talked briefly with a ghost when I was a little boy. I was sitting on my
wow,
tricycle when he came around the corner of the house, and then he spoke to me, and then he disappeared.
what did he
Um,
say?
he said, "Do y'all need any work done around here?"
Oh my gosh, wow.
And my mother used to see him too. She saw him from the kitchen. She would see him come around the corner of the house, take a few steps, and just sort of dissolve.
Wow.
And it was, you know, years passed before I put those two things together, because I just knew that a man had disappeared very strangely.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to me when I was, you know, I was a preschooler when this happened. It didn't occur to me that I'd seen a ghost
Wow. Just a
until
strangely
years
disappearing
later.
man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But it turned out, you know, later when I was in high school, I talked to my mom about it, and I asked her to describe the man that she saw coming around the house. And he was dressed in gray clothes and he had a gray ball cap. That's the man I saw.
Wow. Isn't that
Mhm,
crazy?
mhm,
You should have said yes.
mhm.
We do need some work done. So
Well,
I'm wondering,
the thing was, I turned away. My mom was hanging laundry on the clothesline behind me. This was back before the days of, you know,
yeah,
of dryers,
yeah,
and I just looked back at her, uh, because I thought, well, she's the one who could answer that question, not me.
yeah, yeah.
And then when I turned back, and it was just a matter of turning my head and turning back, he
And
was
then he was
gone.
gone.
And
Interesting.
he didn't have time enough to run out of sight. Believe me,
Yeah,
it was less than a second probably.
just dissolved. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Uh-huh.
So with this perspective that and you've been on this journey for so long, what is your perspective on the shift of consciousness that we are in right now? What is your vision of what we're going through at the moment, humanity?
Well, Raymond started talking to me about it in 1997.
Mm.
Um, and he said that you know, some people will interpret it one way, some people will interpret it another way. But as he sees it, it's the second coming.
Mm.
And so he expects uh, a man to appear and talk to people. He told me back in the fall that this guy is already on the planet. This is the second coming. That this man, Jesus, can be in multiple places at one time. He can appear New York City, somewhere in Russia, somewhere in Africa, somewhere in Asia, somewhere in South America, somewhere on a remote island, all at the same time,
Mm.
speaking to people in the language they understand. And he's not going to. I don't think he's going to, you know, confront world leaders directly. He is more concerned with those who are in need, who are in pain. Um, he's here to help people as he was before. Um, he will not be crucified. He will not be put to death. He, as Raymond says, when he comes this time, he's coming as the lion in the sense of a protector, and
Mm.
not as the lamb.
Mm.
Um,
Wow, very comforting.
yeah,
So,
well, I think it's comforting. Most people I mention this to find it kind of scary.
mm,
I doubt that your viewers find it scary, but the people I live among mostly do. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to know what I know,
mm,
and they don't want to read my book. They don't want to. I some of them are a little uncomfortable around me
yeah,
since I've come out with since I wrote Where the Spirit Led, and they have some idea of what's in it.
yeah, yeah. That can be part of the journey, right?
But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like I had such an epiphany the other night, and I wonder if Ramoth put it in my mind. It was that we could learn so much from dogs. To a dog, um, we're like gods. They just think we're wonderful, and if we treat them well, they are so faithful to us, and they worship us. And what I got was that's how we should feel about Jesus.
Mm.
He's not here to harm us. He's here to help us. We should be like his dogs. We should be that happy to see him, and I think I would be. I hope that I do get to meet him uh, while I'm still in a body here on Earth. I think that
How
would
do
be
you think
great.
it would change people? Do you have an insight on that? Like, how will the earth change? How will people change?
Um, well, some people will raise their vibrations, whatever that means.
Hmm.
I do think that I believe that when Ramoth put the five of us together, he moved us into the new age ahead of other people.
Hmm.
And I think there are a dozen other groups scattered around the world. And I'm a little surprised I haven't heard from somebody who's in one of those groups yet. But I still think I will. And Ramoth says I will, and that
Mm.
I'll make contact with other groups. And uh, that might be when I have another book to write, at that point. Um, but yeah, I think people will become more psychic. That I think there will be a far more widespread belief that we live multiple lives, uh, and I think more people will be able to access previous lives, and in that way heal themselves. I
Mm.
mean, I'm so much better off now than I was the day before I met Ramoth.
Yeah.
I was a miserable wretch then.
Mm.
I was an unhappy person, and I did not have much faith in my own future.
Wow.
But little by little, all of that changed, and so I think other people, will I mean, like channeling will become far more accepted uh, soon than it
Mm.
is right now today. Um, uh, I do believe that people who are looking forward to the rapture or to whatever they think the second coming is going to be like, well, they won't recognize him at all when he comes back,
Mm.
uh, but because they're too, the, the, they might, many of them, I'm sure, think they've already arrived. Listen, we never arrive. When we arrive again, we will rejoin the body of God, whatever that is, and we won't be on earth anymore. You don't arrive on this planet. You just travel on this planet. And so, uh, yeah, I think that that a lot of people are going to be happier once this new age takes hold.
Mhm.
Um, but I also think that, like any kind of birthing process, it's going to be painful, and we're
Mhm.
going through part of that right now. With the wars, the things that are going on globally and nationally, and not just in our nation, but in many many nations.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, an old order is dying, and a new order is about to begin,
yeah,
and
I would
and it
agree.
will be better because
Yeah.
there won't be as much pain and as much suffering and as much greed,
Mhm.
and it'll just be a better world.
Something very much to look forward to.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen in our lifetime,
Yeah,
or
I
or
agree.
at least it's going to start happening in our lifetime, and it already has.
So, Brad, I gotta have you share how can people find your book and do you have is there what how are you engaging with the world right now? Is it through the book? What is your
Okay,
best way?
well, largely through the book.
Hmm.
Here it is, Where the Spirit Led.
And is
The
that in
easiest way,
bookstores or Amazon or where do they
it's
find
in
it?
it's in it's in some bookstores, but it's always at Amazon.
Got it. Okay.
And so I would recommend going to Amazon, or you can order it. I know you can order it through Barnes and Noble, but you probably won't find it on the shelf at Barnes and Noble,
Yeah.
not yet, anyway. Uh, but uh, uh, but yeah, um, Amazon is a good way to find the book. Now, to find me, I have a website. Uh, I'm also I have a presence on Facebook.
Okay.
Uh, I I do have an email address. It's where the spirit led at gmail.com.
Perfect.
And I'd be happy to hear from anybody uh, who has questions or who just wants to connect, because that's what I want to do. I want to connect with people, just like what you said when you started your podcast, or the group that you began. You wanted to
Yeah.
connect with like-minded people, and I am starved for like-minded people. I would love to connect with lots of them.
That's wonderful. Love it. Love to hear that. Thank you so much, Brad. It's been such a fun. I knew it was going to be a fun conversation, and it was. You did not disappoint. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are very grateful for your time. Thank you guys so much, everyone, for coming, for being part of this community. What a phenomenal, phenomenal thing to come together like this every single month. We never know how we're going to be surprised, do we? It's always such a fun time. So we would do this, as you guys know, every single Thursday, a second Thursday of the month is when we have our wisdom soup, usually at 10 a.m. Pacific. And so next month will we be back again with another speaker, and then for those of you who are part of our Soul Society, we are now heading over to our Soul Society meeting for our after party with Brad. So if you're in Soul Society, don't forget, come on over for the after party. All right, you guys, tons of love to everybody. And I'll see you guys next time, next Wisdom Soup. Bye-bye, you guys. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Wendy
Thank
and
you.
Kira. Bye-bye, you guys.